Hi everyone, welcome back to Shhhcrets. If you're new here, go ahead and subscribe if you like my vibe. And if you've been here before, then you already know what time it is. Today's episode is messy, emotional, and hard to talk about, but silence would be worse. Because when the media shapes the narrative, somebody's got to challenge it, and that's what we're doing today. For those who aren't familiar with the case, here's a quick recap. A 17-year-old black student named Karmelo Anthony, not the basketball player, was recently involved in a fatal incident at a high school track meet in Frisco, Texas. It was raining, chaotic, and students from different schools had gathered under tents for cover. Karmelo was under one of those tents, one that didn't belong to his school. Austin Metalf, who also wasn't from the host school, reportedly walked up to Karmelo and confronted him about being there. Things escalated when Austin allegedly grabbed Karmelo's bag and tried to push him out. In response, Karmelo pulled out a knife and stabbed Austin. Austin later died at the hospital. Karmelo is now under house arrest awaiting trial. Social media has been in flames ever since. Some say it was murder, others say self-defense. Now that we're all on the same page, let's talk about what people keep conveniently ignoring. So here's where I stand. Should Karmelo have had a knife at a school event? No. Let's be honest about that. If the law says he shouldn't have had a weapon, then charge him with that. But that's a separate issue from whether or not what happened was self-defense. Because once Austin made the decision to physically grab and tried to forcefully remove Karmelo from that tent, it became something else entirely. And let's not act like this happened in a vacuum. It didn't. We're talking about Texas. We're talking about America, a country where race lines aren't just visible. They're engraved in every social interaction, every assumption, every power dynamic. And you've got a white student who clearly felt bold enough to police a tent that didn't belong to him, confront a black kid, escalate it physically, and, this is important, probably assumed he could do all of that without consequence. Let me be clear. No child deserves to die. This isn't about celebrating death or brushing off tragedy. But what I am tired of is the rewrite. The soft, sanitized, out-of-touch version of events that tries to paint Austin as some sweet kid who kindly asked someone to leave a tent like he was a student ambassador on a school tour. Let's stop lying. Because the fact that Austin thought he could tell Karmelo to leave instead of calling a teacher, coach, or someone in authority says everything you need to know about how he saw himself. And more importantly, how he saw Karmelo. He wasn't trying to de-escalate. He wasn't being polite. He walked over there with that big bad jock energy like he ran the place. Like he was the authority. If you've ever been the black kid at a mostly white school, especially in Texas, you already know this game. You've seen it. You've felt it. There's a type of white boy, usually the athlete, usually popular, usually comes from some cushy neighborhood, who gets a kick out of testing you to see if you'll fold, trying to assert dominance. He knows you've got the angry black kid label one step away. He knows he can push, and 9 times out of 10, the system's going to back him up when you react. So, let's be real. Austin didn't just ask Karmelo to leave, he challenged him. He inserted himself, got loud, got physical, and tried to drag that boy out of the tent like he was security. But he wasn't. He was a kid with ego trying to flex. And he found out the hard way that you can't just put your hands on people and expect them not to defend themselves. And Karmelo, he warned him, said, "Don't touch me." And Austin touched him anyway. What happened after that is tragic, but it wasn't unprovoked. It wasn't random, and it wasn't some unhinged act of violence. It was self-defense from a boy who was backed into a corner, being shoved, grabbed, and publicly disrespected in the middle of a chaotic environment. What people need to understand is this. Kids don't talk to each other like diplomats. Karmelo saying hell no to Austin wasn't criminal. It was typical. It was a teenage boy responding to another teenage boy, acting like he was someone's daddy. Let's not clutch pearls over teenage boys talking like teenage boys. That's not the crime here. Karmelo was outnumbered. Let's not gloss over that. Austin's twin brother was nearby. That matters. You're 17, it's raining, you're being told to leave, then grabbed and shoved by someone who has backup 2 feet away. That's not just tension. That's threat. You don't think that makes someone feel cornered? And for everyone asking why he had a knife, ask yourself this instead. What should he have done? Wait to get jumped? Hope a teacher popped up before it got worse? That's not how fear works. That's not how adrenaline works. That's not how it goes when you're a black teen and the system is already suspicious of your every move. This wasn't some premeditated act of violence. This was a teenager who was provoked, outnumbered, and reacted to a situation that spiraled because someone else escalated it first. Funny how self-defense only seems to apply when it's not someone like Karmelo. No one deserves to die, but let's not pretend Austin was some innocent peacekeeper. He stepped to that boy with ego. He ignored a clear warning. He made the mistake of thinking he could intimidate someone and get away with it. And now everyone wants to act like Karmelo woke up that morning looking for trouble. Austin was not some innocent bystander. He was the aggressor. He put his hands on someone after being warned not to. And he did it because he thought he could. Because he didn't believe that Karmelo would actually do anything back. Because in his mind, he was the enforcer, the alpha, the authority. That's how privilege and unchecked ego work. And now, folks are trying to make this a story about race division, as if this wouldn't have played out very differently had the roles been reversed. If a black boy had tried to drag a white kid out of a tent and that white kid stabbed him, people would be calling it self-defense before the news even broke. They'd be rallying behind his right to protect himself. But when it's the black kid standing his ground, suddenly it's aggression. Suddenly it's murder. Look, I'm not saying Karmelo was perfect. Should he have brought a knife? But look around. Look at where we are as a country. Look at what kids are exposed to. Look at how much harder it is to feel safe when you already know that people don't see your humanity the same way they see someone else's. When you're black in spaces like that, your defense isn't just against physical threats. It's against the assumptions that you're always the aggressor, always the problem, always one step away from being thrown under the bus. Karmelo shouldn't have had a knife, and if I were in his position, I probably wouldn't have chosen violence. But what I won't do is pretend that Austin didn't play a role in escalating this. He wasn't some helpless, peace-seeking saint. He was a provocateur, a teen with ego, entitlement, and the kind of unchecked audacity that made him think he had the right to physically remove someone for standing under a tent in the rain. And now his actions cost him his life. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about how this case would be treated if Karmelo looked different. Let's talk about how many people think self-defense is only a valid claim if it's coming from someone who looks like them. And let's definitely talk about how many folks are playing dumb, pretending Austin was just asking nicely, when the truth is he tried to punk that boy, and it backfired. Sound off in the comments. Do you think this was self-defense? Was Austin out of line? And how different would this case look if Karmelo and Austin had switched places? Until next time, keep your guard up, your voice strong, and your mind sharp. See you in the next one. Bye, guys.